the beginning of your schooling, you went into electrical engineering, right?
Yeah, I graduated from Waterloo in electrical engineering. I started school back in 1990, graduated in 95. After which I decided to go to McGill to pursue my master's again in electrical engineering. But my entire focus has always been the healthcare space. I've always liked looking at medical and medical imaging specifically. And so I decided to follow up and do my master's degree in medical imaging at McGill.
What drove you to engineering? Because it's a type of person that's an engineer, you know?
Yeah, it's interesting. I actually couldn't debate. I was debating whether I wanted to be more of a medical. I was looking at medicine as a profession and engineering as a profession. And I found this sort of unique blend of biomedical in between. So I didn't have to decide. No, of course, my strengths in high school were always more in the sciences and the math. And so that obviously led towards engineering.
You were happy. I know a lot of, at least friends of mine, they finished university and they went right back in it because they were like, yeah, I kind of did the school, but it's just, I picked something, right? I didn't really like it. So when
I knew what I wanted to do from high school.
Oh, that's perfect.
I knew I wanted to do that biomedical engineering side. And the best route was to do electrical engineering. So at the time, electrical and computer engineering at Waterloo was ranked, I think still ranked number one in the country. And so I went to Waterloo, which at the time we didn't have biomedical programs in undergrad. So I had no choice effectively to do a master's as well, because I really wanted that biomedical side.
What was your first job right after graduating?
Graduating from McGill, yeah. I went to GE Healthcare in the US. At the time, it was called the Technical Leadership Program for Engineering. And essentially, it's a 2-year program in GE Healthcare to do 4 6-month rotations throughout the healthcare business. And the idea is it's a technical leadership program. So it's 4 different engineering jobs, essentially. So my first job there was in the CT doing software. So computer tomography doing software. After which I did a rotation in, oh God, feels like forever ago, but Six Sigma. So in Six Sigma, and then I did another one with more of a Six Sigma focus. And then came off program, did a MRI one as well. A rotation MR. And so the advanced research came off program saying, okay, I don't want to be a real full-time engineer anymore. Engineering was a great background, but not what I want to do on a day-to-day basis. So I went more initially to lead the e-commerce for one of the modalities, the ultrasound modality.
Is that the e-strategist that you have on your LinkedIn?
Yeah, it's exactly the e-strategist.
After that, I see you really jumping a lot of different positions and always just going higher and higher and higher until it leads up to being a COO. Could you say, in your eyes, was it you were good at climbing that corporate ladder?
It's not that I was trying to climb the corporate ladder. I was just given the right opportunities at the right time as well.
You were taking the opportunities. It presented to you and you said yes.
Yeah, absolutely. I was not shy of taking a risk, not shy of going up in the corporate ladder. And I've envisioned of doing more and more as part of the company, as different companies, and taking bigger leadership opportunities. And so, yeah, I was fortunate after during GE as well. I was in the mergers and acquisitions, and that gave me a lot of opportunities to, we were integrating new companies. So I was learning a lot of different skill sets, not just in one function. So, I was responsible for integrating all the different functions within a company into the GE framework. And by learning all that, it gave me a much broader sense of running a business. And coming off after I left GE went to run a service organization, or went to a startup actually in Vancouver. And there I was setting up and running the service business and the business development side of it. So looking for new opportunities for sales.
I'm getting a little bit of a pattern saying first you go to the US and you're happy to go to Vancouver. a lot of people aren't willing to move. So do you think that's part of taking opportunities, even if it's somewhere else, you say, yeah, I'll move?
Yeah, I've grown up moving as well. So my dad moved around. We were always home based in Montreal. So that was the core, but my dad worked in different places. And so getting up and moving was really not a big deal. So I actually don't mind moving around.
Any suggestions for anybody starting out, like you were an e-strategist, to, like you, in a couple of years, move up the responsibility level or the corporate ladder? You say, what kind of maybe mindset or suggestions you could give to that person?
Always have to be willing to learn and be open to feedback and understand where your weaknesses are so you can overcome them. So what do you need? How do you improve your skill set to grow in the organizations? What's nice about when I was at GE is it is a large organization, and they did give me the opportunity to learn more. I was part of a lot of management development courses. I was part of different training opportunities, and the experience at GE is fantastic for me. It was fantastic for me. I mean, I had great managers, great coaches, the opportunity to talk to different people, and just watch and learn as well. So just watching and learning the way people handle things, learning, I'll always keep my eye open on how to learn and how to handle situations and learning more in depth. I think, also one of the biggest advantages, especially at a company like GE, is getting a lot stronger financially. So making sure you understand the finances of the business, the financials of the business, how numbers and how all that matters. It's a very important part of any business is the financials.
So not keeping your mind open and seeing the whole picture, not like the whole bricklayer, like, what are you doing? Just laying bricks? No, like you're building a building, a house.
Right. But it's also the most important part is executing on your current job. You have to deliver. You have to do more than you're expected. At least in the world, you always, you can't just be given a task and just do that task. You got to think, okay, how can I make this task better, and continuously improve what you need to deliver, but also improve yourself along the way.
I see. Okay. Why don't we take a big jump and you give us a little bit of an intro for people that are not in the industry. What do we need to know to understand ultrasounds and X-rays?
Okay. Completely different modalities.
Yeah.
Sure. So ultrasounds are based on sound. So they're very high frequency sounds, but essentially they're non-ionizing radiation. So if you get an ultrasound, and they will put this little probe head on you with some acoustic gel, because sound doesn't travel very far or very well in air, and water is a better mechanism for transmission. So when you have an ultrasound at one point, they will put this gel on you, which allows the ultrasound probe to acoustically match better to your body. And so then the ultrasound sends a sound wave into your body. It reflects back whatever it sees, and then that ultrasound probe picks up and then creates that image. So it's essentially a reflection of what's inside the body using sound. X-ray is actually the oldest medical imaging modality. It was created by Röntgen, or discovered by Röntgen 120 years ago. And it's actually they use a ionizing radiation, and and then in the first X-rays used film, like your film cameras in the past. The first X-rays used film as well, and they would transmit an X-ray, and whatever's absorbed or not absorbed in the body is what you're imaging. And so, as actually my business partner in current KA Imaging likes to say, you're imaging shadows with X-ray. You're seeing shadows in X-ray, but it's ionizing radiation. It can potentially damage cells. Now, your standard chest X-ray is very low dose, very low. It really doesn't. The risk is pretty low. Whereas CT is a different issue. So computer tomography uses X-ray as a basis to create a 3D image of the body.
Now I wanted to jump into your first position as now that we have an understanding of the X-ray. I wanted to lead into your first position as a CEO and a president. What led you in that moment take that from your previous position to jump into that more of a, CEO, the leader of an organization?
So I'm one of the founders of this organization as well. So KA Imaging. So Kareem, my business partner, is a professor at the University of Waterloo. Him and I started just talking about setting up a company based on his innovations at the university. And so that's started back in 2013. And so I've always liked that small company entrepreneurial spirit as well. I think I saw that coming out of when I was at GE, and we were integrating smaller companies into GE, and seeing that entrepreneurial spirit of people who created companies and got acquired by GE, it was a little different. And so I sort of had that vision as well of starting up a company at one point. And Kareem and I actually got along well those first few times. We decided to create the company, and it took a couple of years to get our first funding, and it was just essentially three people. It was myself, Kareem, and one of his former grad students that founded KA Imaging and created KA Imaging. And, so when you don't think of yourself as a CEO at the time, you're just one of the founders, just getting a company off the ground.
Yeah. Doing everything to make that something a reality. That's
exactly it.
Oh, over the 5 years, what do you think the biggest goals? It's more than 5 years, but over the time of KJ Imaging,
the company has been around 5 years, really.
Okay.
Even though Kareem and I started working together in 2013, the company got officially founded in 2015.
Okay. Over that period, what do you think the biggest things that you learned that you just wish that you could, go back and tell yourself about?
I think it's an interesting question. It's always looking back retrospectively is always an interesting challenge, because we can't change the past anymore anyways. So I think, some of the biggest learnings are, everything takes longer. We always know in our head, everything's going to take longer, but we try to push and get things done faster. But, sometimes the right thing is to do it slightly slower sometimes and do it right. Not that we have done a lot of things wrong, but we've also remained flexible. I think that's been one, important part for us, is that we're ready to take the right innovation to market. We actually started the company with a different innovation. We pivoted about 3 years ago. It's still X-ray technology, just a type of X-ray we decided to bring out is what we needed to do. And so we decided to pivot based on customer feedback and customer excitement. And so, looking back and saying, what we should have done differently or what could have done better, we can always do things better, but the challenge comes down to cash. If you have more cash, you can hire more people and get things done faster. And, and sometimes oversight, maybe sometimes focusing closer inside the business. My job as CEO has been to raise capital, to get out there, to be more public. At times, I should have spent more time in-house than I was looking outside.
Mm-hmm. I like what you said about that a point became that you had to pivot into a new technology. Mm-hmm. That must mean that you had to be a little bit less romantic on what you were offering, right? 'Cause I see people with ideas, or they're actually selling something and they're very romantic, as in they know that this is what people want and need.
Yeah, passionate. Yeah.
But it kind of blinds them a little to actually hear back if that's what they actually want or need, or the market actually needs it. So.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have this big medical imaging conference called RSNA, the Radiological Society of North America, and every year we've always tried to bring something new. And so one of the patents and technologies that Kareem had in his lab was this multi-layer X-ray detector that allowed for improved X-ray visualization. So about 6 weeks before RSNA, we said, we're building a prototype and we're going to show some images at RSNA. And the team did it. They delivered in 6 weeks. They delivered a prototype and were able to get some of the basic images. And we showed those images alongside with our innovation that we got the initial company funded with. Excuse me. And people just sort of gravitated more to that new product that we just were prototyping for the fun of it than the product we're trying to bring to market. Because the other product was an improvement on X-ray. It was an improvement in, X-ray dose, cost. And so it was a slight improvement, whereas the The single exposure dual energy is what we call it now, or color X-ray. When we talk to the outside market or lay people, we just call it a color X-ray, really seem to grasp the attention of the radiologists and potential customers better than just a slight improvement.
You bring me right into my next question. Now that why color? Like, what's the difference between the old technology?
Sure. What color X-ray we call color is really fundamentally based on something called dual energy X-ray. So there's been a technique created 40 years ago where they took two films, put them on top of each other, and then each film could filter slightly differently the X-ray wavelength. So X-ray is like visible light. It's just at a different wavelength. And you've got different energies contained in a standard X-ray. And then what happens is 40 years ago, they said, okay, we stacked two X-ray films. It was hard to, and it created this capability of separating soft tissue and bone. And when you think about the chest wall, you got the rib cage surrounding the lungs. And the rib cage can actually obscure sometimes some lesions. And what dual energy allows you to do is separate the two. Now, they came up with another technique about 20 years ago that called energy switching. They use one X-ray film essentially and switch the energies very quickly, and then use a digital X-ray detector to read everything out. But that energy switching gave you the same results. I could now visualize the soft tissue and the lung and the rib cage separately, which is important when you're trying to look for lung disease. But it created another problem. The energy switching was done in about a half second. So, you as a person can hold your breath, but you can't stop your heart. So a half second may sound slow or very quick, but it's very slow for the heart because the heart is beating, and it creates a bit of a motion artifact. However, there's a lot of cancer sites and a lot of sites that are doing chest X-rays are using this dual energy X-ray, even with that motion artifact. So what Kareem did actually in the lab, when they said, well, everybody's doing this energy switching at this X-ray source where it generates the radiation. Why not change it and do all the energy separation in the X-ray detector itself? So now we've created a 3-layer X-ray detector. So rather than just doing 2 energies, we can do 3 energies. And so like your eye can see the color world we create based on 3 wavelengths of visible light, we've done this with X-ray as well. So we capture three wavelengths in X-ray. And because we want to make it similar to what people are already used to, we're only using these 2 energies to start with. But in the future, we can do more.
That's fascinating. So does that help? I'm assuming that helps to just see whatever you're trying to find or look for in the X-ray much better, right? And
correct.
Separate from.
We've got a few cases. We've got 2 clinical trials going on right now. One's in lung cancer at Grand River Hospital. We've been able to see some lesions that X-ray missed. Now that there was a gold standard already being done with CT. But the nice thing is if you think about right up here where you've got your clavicle bones that cover part of the lung to the top, it can actually block and you can miss a lesion up there. And with our capabilities of now eliminating the bones and looking at only the soft tissue, we can see it nice and clear. We can see a lesion that was potentially missed up there. Now the CT obviously saw it, the CT's 3D and it can do a lot better, but now you can do things back at X-ray level rather than having to send someone for full CT because of the radiation and the time versus doing it on a standard X-ray. That's one. And then the other part is you have nodules in your chest. And these nodules, if they're calcified, are not cancerous. But sometimes you can't tell that in a standard X-ray. We can. You can see if these nodules are calcified, that means they're non-cancerous and not a concern for the patient. Whereas you'd have to send them to CT just to see that. So we have this capability of doing this energy separation and tissue differentiation is what we're focusing on as well. And like we said, in the future, we'll be able to use the color, that's 3 layers, in a way that's better to handle. But today, we're just doing it in a way so that the radiologists who've already been trained on dual energy, and radiologists are mainly trained in black and white images. We're keeping that so it makes it easy for them to pick up what we're doing without retraining them significantly.
Now, if I go to a hospital, am I going to see here in Ontario, your machines?
Not yet. We've got one clinical trial, like I said, in Grand River Hospital. The other clinical trial we're doing is University Health Network at the Princess Margaret Cancer Center. We're actually doing a pneumonia/COVID trial. And so we've got a trial going on there right now. We do have Health Canada approval recently as of last September and FDA clearance in the US. And now we're starting to move towards our clinical sites. So we were just getting some more data. And now with the opportunity to move towards clinical sites. We have a few sales that are lined up. I can't announce those yet, but once we get them installed, we'll do some announcements. And then absolutely, you can go get ours.
Yeah. I'm assuming now that from inception of the new technology, because it has to do with health, there's got to be a much longer period to actually start selling your machines, right? So you, as a business, you have to really consider that, or can you start making sales before it's approved, or how does?
No, you cannot. That's part of the regulations. You have to wait until it's approved before you can sell. You can educate people on it, but you can't take any sales and orders. So right now, as a company, now that we've got FDA and Health Canada, we're actively trying to push our sales. We're closing distributors in the US and Canada. Internationally, we actually have a distributor set up in Mexico. We have a couple set up we're looking to sign a few more in different parts of the world. As they close, we'll make more announcements.
I see. We're getting close to our 30 minutes. So would you like to add anything else about KJ Imaging?
About KA Imaging?
Yeah.
Oh, I think the company's on a great path right now. Some of the hard work of the engineering's done a fantastic job of getting us to this point on having a product ready to sell. We've got the products ready to sell, and now we're in a great growth potential and growth path for the company. As we start moving into 2021, we see a great opportunity to expand our sales, get the initial sales, get more data. With anything new, most people want to at least test it out first. And so we've got some big US sites who have been very interested in what we're doing because they see the value of what we're doing. And we're setting up the tests in the next couple of weeks as well with them. And so
I'm sure they can see the value on it. Any doctor, anybody in the medical industry, that quick explain, I'm not in it and I'm sold on the idea. So, let's wrap it up and thank you for your time. It was very informative, and I hope this helps to a little bit of awareness.
No, that's great. Thank you, Alex. Appreciate it. Appreciate you taking the time to speak today, and we look forward to seeing this being put out there.